we all have a huge blind spot when it comes to what we're signaling other people. That you may think you know how you come across and what you're displaying, but I have a feeling that we are about to learn from Vanessa that we have a massive blind spot when it comes to worth and confidence and how you're displaying charisma or not. So how can we, number one, figure out how charismatic we are? What do we do, Vanessa?
Okay. All right. So first, the first kind of diagnostic that I talked about was just which one sounds more like you. That's where we start, right? So where do you think you fall? You higher in warmth, higher in competence, you have a balance, or you under signaling, right? Do you shut down and not signal enough? Okay. The next thing you can do is you can actually do our diagnostic. It's totally free. And I love this because there's two ways that I want you to do this. You can take this as many times as you want. The whole point, the reason I put it up from the research is because I want people to be able to take a diagnostic, see how they come across. So they're going to be very simple questions.
Does that mean a test?
Yes, it's a test.
Okay.
Really simple test, scienceofpeople.com/charisma.
Wait, hold on. What's it called? What is the URL?
Scienceofpeople.com/charisma.
Scienceofpeople.com/charisma. Wait, is that the New York Times Science of People?
No, just my Science of People.
Oh, that's your site. Okay. Scienceofpeople.com/charisma. We will put that in the show notes. So you can take this test
as many times as you want. And so first I want you to take it as you. I want you to take it as you. And I want you to take it not on your ideal self, your real self.
Okay.
Okay. So on a normal day, I want you to screenshot your results. Then what I want you to do is I want you to do a 360 review. I want you to send the quiz to a partner, a friend, a colleague, and ask them to take it as you. This is the key because it's going to show you how other people see you and have them screenshot the results and then go to dinner and get a lot of wine because it'll be a great conversation.
So do you find that most people have no idea how they're showing up with other people? You
were right. Most of us have a blind spot. We think of ourselves as our ideal selves. And there are days, of course, where we are a little closer to that sweet spot of warmth and competence. But what's really key, what we find is that not only are people giving them different results, but they might even have different results for home and work. So they're showing up as two selves. And that's a very important thing to know about yourself. If you're going to work and you're dreading it, you're burnt out, you're drained, it could be that you are not honoring who you truly are because you're either under signaling competence or under signaling warmth or trying to fake it till we make it. I have a little problem with that phrase. I don't love that phrase because I think that the problem is if you're going to fake warmth, it's exhausting, right? And so this is also a way to sort of get a very quick snapshot in how are people perceiving you and is it what you think you're showing?
You also have a suggestion that we record our Zoom calls in order to read how charismatic we are. That sounds horrible.
It's horrible. I'm not going to lie. It is horrible. And not only do I want you to record a Zoom call, I want you to record a Zoom call that you worked hard on. Presentation, an important client meeting, a call, and then I want you to code it. So when we talk about—
What does code it mean?
Okay. So when we talk about cues, so cues are the social signals humans send to each other. Okay. There are 4 different modes of cues. Verbal, the one we talk about the most. So our words. This is what most of us think about all the time. We want to prepare the perfect answer, share the perfect presentation. We practice our stories. So verbal is only one mode of cues. Second is nonverbal. Our body language, our gestures, our facial expressions. The third, the most important one that's overlooked is voice tone, our vocal power, our volume, our pace, our cadence, our tone. And the last smallest one is ornaments, the jewelry we wear, what's behind us in our background, the color of our nails, how we wear our hair, our glasses. Those are the ornaments. What I want you to do is I want you to code yourself for every cue that you're showing. Everything from how many gestures you're using to what your facial expressions are doing, to your movement, to your fidgeting, to your vocal power, to the kinds of words you're using. That's also going to give you a snapshot because what we've found in our research is that there are certain very clear signals of warmth, cues of warmth, and cues of competence. And the last one are danger zone cues, cues that are negative. My goal, this is a way that you can see is how are you signaling warmth and competence? What are you doing with your body and your voice and your face that's making people treat you the way that they're treating you?
Okay, so I feel like everybody needs to grab a pen and
Yeah.
a piece of paper. And this is definitely one of those podcast episodes that I know every single parent is going to be forwarding to their kids who have interviews. Because
Yes.
we are about to get the cheat sheet, everybody, for how to nail charisma, whether you're in a virtual meeting, whether you're in an interview, whether you're sending an email. And so let's go through the cues.
All right.
What is the easiest way to walk through these?
All right.
Do you want to go by warmth? Do you want to go by how do you want to do this? Because there's a lot to cover.
Yeah. So let's do it by time. So what I want to do is actually I want to do the first 10 seconds of your video, the first minute of your video. That actually helps us break it down, because actually the first 10 seconds are really important. The first 10 seconds of you being on camera.
Really?
So, yeah, because it sets you up for the rest of the time. So if you can nail your first 10 seconds, it makes the next hour easier.
Wow. So what do we have to do?
Okay.
What are we doing? So you're about to tell us in the first 10 seconds of a Zoom meeting, you must do this in order to be influential. What do you do?
Okay, first 10 seconds. And I want you to code this if you did this on your last video. So here's what you should do and here's what you should code. Number one, in the first second, you should try to show your hands. I know this sounds really weird, but they use eye tracking studies, and they found that one of the first places the brain looks when they're trying to gauge someone's warmth is hands. Why? This is actually a survival mechanism. Back in our caveman days, if we were approached by a stranger caveman, we wanted to see if they were carrying a rock or a spear, right? So this still remains. Something interesting happens. I'll do a little experiment for you. So if you're watching the video, I'm going to hide my hands. If you're listening, I'm hiding my hands right now.
Yeah.
The moment you can't see someone's hands. So if I were to give this entire interview with my hands behind my back, something interesting would happen in your brain and Mel's brain, which is that your amygdala would begin to activate. And that's because when you can't see someone's hands, you wonder, what is she holding? What's her intention? And so the longer I keep my hands behind my back, the more distracted you should become with the fact that my hands are behind my back. You want them to come back out, right?
Yes.
Okay, they're back, right?
Okay, there they are. Hello.
So much better. So this is a survival mechanism. The moment you hop on video, walk on stage, walk into a boardroom,
like put your hands up, like, hey, everybody.
Hey, good morning. Nice to see you.
Okay, so the first 10 seconds, we turn on, the camera's coming on, we put the hands up. Hi, everybody.
Or just one, right? Like a little wave, nice to see you. You walk into a crowded restaurant to see your date. Hey, good to see you. That hand gesture immediately deactivates their fear processing. Easy, okay? So I want them visible. Second little bonus tip here is the space, the distance. And I literally want you to measure this. The distance between your nose and the camera. The reason for this is because in person, we are very aware of what's called proxemics zones. Proxemic zones are the space between people. So we know, and this is a little bit different culture to culture. So hand gestures, universally, we like to see hands, but culture to culture, we also like to know what's the distance between people. So I highly recommend make sure your camera is at least 1.5 feet away from your face.
Okay.
The reason for this is because imagine if I were to give, now I'm going to get really close to the camera. Imagine if I were to give my entire interview really close, you'd be like, Vanessa, back up, right?
Oh my God. I totally like lean into the camera. I have no space above my head. I like my whole face right in there. So maybe I got to back off a little bit on the camera.
Let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
So there are no bad cues in the sense of they're all purposeful. When you are really close, and I love your videos. I've seen your close-up videos. You should know on purpose, if you are very close to the camera, right up in your face, you are signaling intimacy. You are signaling, I'm right up in it. And that's because as humans, there are 4 different proxemic zones: the public zone, the social zone, the personal zone, and the intimate zone. We reserve the intimate zone, which is 0 to 18 inches away, 0 to 1.5 feet away, for people we feel really close with. So our partners, our parents, so does our best friends. And so actually, when I watch your videos where you're really close, I feel like we're besties. Mel, tell me everything. So I would say reserve those videos for your intimate moments.
Okay.
You're literally signaling that. So in a normal Zoom call, I want you at least 1.5 feet away. It also helps you show your hands, right? It helps have those gestures.
So smart. Okay. So the first 10 seconds, everybody, we got the hands up and we got to be about 1.5 feet away.
Yep.
Because this is, and there's more?
Oh, there's more. There's so
Okay.
much more. Okay, second, vocal. So that was a nonverbal cue. I want you to make sure you are not accidentally using the question inflection on your name or an important information. The question inflection is when we go up at the end of our sentence. So it sounds like we're asking a question. And so often we found in our lab that people would use the question inflection in the first 10 seconds, which made people doubt them. So I want to share this study because this study gave me the chills when I first heard it. And I think it's so incredibly important for people who are listening who want to be taken seriously. So what they did in this study, I promise I won't get too into the science. Very simply, they brought doctors into their lab and they wanted to know if people would change their perceptions of charisma based on their voice tone. So they asked the doctors to record 10-second voice tone clips. So these clips, they had to say their name, where they worked, and their specialty. So it sounded like this. I use my lipstick as an example. Hi, my name is Dr. Edwards. I specialize in oncology, and I work at Children's Presbyterian Hospital. They took these clips and they warbled the words. So you could hear the volume, the pace, the cadence, but not the actual words being said. So that sounded like this. Okay. They asked participants to then rate these doctors on warmth and competence.
Based on the warbled thing that you just did?
Yes. So imagine that I just did that. And then I asked you, do you like this person? Is this person smart? So participants rated these gobbledygook clips on, do they like this person smart? They found the doctors who had the lowest warmth and competence ratings had the highest rate of malpractice lawsuits.
What?
The doctors with the lowest warmth and competence ratings, simply based on their voice tone, had the highest rate of malpractice lawsuits. This implies that we don't just dislike people based on their skills. We dislike people based on our perception of their skills, and that happens within the first few seconds of hearing them. The biggest pattern, it's such a shockwave through the community because these are doctors who are very well trained. What they found was patterns. There were certain doctors who across the board were rated as highly charismatic from gobbledygook. And there were certain doctors that over and over again, they were rated as not very smart, not very likable. Here was the biggest pattern, uptalk. The doctors who had an introduction like this. Hi, my name is Dr. Edwards. I specialize in oncology and I work at Children's Presbyterian Hospital. Right? What it did is it changes the way that we listen. They found that when we hear the question inflection accidentally used on a statement, our prefrontal cortex shifts from listening to scrutinizing. We think, why did they just question themselves? I guess I should question them. We hear this all the time in sales calls where someone is killing it in a pitch. This is the income, the last I. Or in a salary negotiation. I'd love to work for your company. I think I'd be a great fit for you. I love your mission. And I'm really looking for a salary range of over $100,000.
Oh, everybody, did you hear that question?
Yeah.
I'm really looking for a salary range of $100,000.
When you ask your price, you are begging people to negotiate with you. You're telling people, I don't really believe this number and you shouldn't believe it either. So what happens in the first 10 seconds is we're nervous, right? We're really nervous. We've been holding our breath. We're waiting for Zoom call. And so we accidentally give away all of our vocal power in the first 10 seconds. We say, hey, everyone, my name is Vanessa. We'll get started in a few.
Whoa. Okay. This is why it's important to tape a Zoom call you're on, everybody.
Yeah.
Because now you have 3 research-backed, incredibly subtle but profound behavior changes that you need to make immediately.
Immediately.
Hands up. You got to have the right distance, which is 1 foot to 1.5 feet, nose to camera. No uptalk, everybody. And I would imagine that most people don't realize that they do it.
No idea. That's why coding is so important. That's why seeing yourself, that's why we don't realize when we walk into a salary negotiation or we walk into a pitch meeting with a client or we go on a date and we think it went well. right? How often have people been sideswiped and they think, yeah, I think that went great, but I didn't get a call back or I didn't get a second date. It's because you are accidentally telling the world how to treat you. And if you undersignal warmth, people don't like you. If you undersignal competence, people don't take you seriously.
And the up talking, everyone,
Oh,
is when you're under signaling competence. You might
competence.
be the most competent and qualified person, but if you walk into that interview and you don't, not sure, like my last job was great. I think I'd do great here. 100,000, that'd be great. Like you just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it because you don't hear it. I bet people do this with dating all the time.
All the time. And the problem is it's a permission seeking behavior. So if we really get down to the root cause of it, which is one thing that fascinates me, is this is appeasement body language, right? So this is, do you like me? Do you agree with me? So oftentimes highly warm people who really, really desperately want to be liked use more uptalk because they're asking, do you agree? Do you like me? The crazy thing is
So
it actually has
annoying.
the opposite effect, right? So that I also want you to get really to the root cause of if you hear yourself do uptalk. And by the way, please go listen to your voicemail. So go listen to your voicemail or any voice recordings. If you've sent any voice recordings or voice memos in the past few days, go re-listen to them and see if you accidentally use uptalk and go re-record. Go
Whoa.
re-record.
So how do you coach somebody who has a style of speaking where they naturally end sentences with this uptalk? So it's almost like you've got a statement and as you speak it, it sounds like a question at the end.
Yes.
And do women do this more than men?
Yes. So women do this more than men. Also, the research finds that women typically, but not always, are seen as higher in warmth. And that's because from a very young age, women are often taught to be liked. And so they tend to dial up their warmth earlier. Typically, but not always, men are seen as higher in competence. And that's because often men are told to be right.
Mm.
So we also have to be aware of those gender differences. So yes, women typically more often use uptalk or high warmth. So luckily, this is actually a very easy thing to fix. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it with breath and pausing. So one of the things that can happen with uptalk is we're nervous and we're speaking very quickly. And so what I want you to think about is, what do you want to say with purpose and how can you deliver it with purpose? So there's 3 kinds of inflection. There's uptalk, so going up at the end of our sentence. There's neutral, staying neutral at the end of our sentence. And then there's the downward inflection, which is very commanding, which is going down at the end of our sentence. Okay, so all 3 of those things signal something very, very different. What I want you to pay attention to is the tension in your vocal cords. So when we are tense, when we're nervous, we tend to take in a breath and talk at the top of our breath. It's really, really hard to sound confident when we're up here. So what I want you to do is when you say hello or your first few words, I want you to speak on the out breath.
Okay.
What most people do is they hold their breath before they get on a Zoom call or a phone call. So they go, hello, all the way up here.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Because you're like, hi.
Hi. Oh, so good to see you. So we did this experiment where we had people submit recordings of important phone calls, and we found the highest part of the entire call, uptalk and vocal tone, was the first 10 seconds. Literally, people would go, hey, it's so good to see you. So how's it going?
That's 1,000% right.
So this is really easy to fix.
What do you do?
Instead of holding your breath, I want you to speak on the out breath. So let's do a little experiment. I want you to hear the highest end of your range. So the highest end of your range is when you speak at the top of your breath. So on the count of 3, I want us to say, and wherever you are, if you can do this in your car, tell your kids to do it with you. So I want you to take in a deep breath and say hello at the top of your breath. So it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Hello. So you want to try it with me, Mel?
Yeah,
okay.
I do.
1, 2, 3. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Hi.
Okay.
It's very high.
That's the highest end of your breath. If you hear your range going up there, you are speaking too high. You hear yourself go there. What I want you to do is try to relax your vocal cords by speaking on the out breath.
Hello.
So this time, there you go. That was it. So you just heard the difference. So here's my difference. Ready? Hello. Hello. Those are both me, but they sound totally different. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep breath in on the count of 3. And I want you to say hello on the out breath. I want you to say it in a downward inflection. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Mm, 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 mm.
Nice
That
deep
sounded
voice.
good.
Yes. Okay. So signaling competence. We now have a bunch of things that you can do, including, and probably one of the most important is learning how to take a breath and then talk on the
Yes.
out breath.
Can I add one more competence cue that I think is really
Please.
easy? Really
Yes.
easy. Okay, so hand gestures, there's two sides of hand gestures. One is visible, right? So we mentioned having a little, wave, hello, greeting at the top of a video call or in person. The next thing we look for in hand gestures is purpose. What highly competent people did, so we did a research study where we analyzed thousands of hours of TED Talks.
Okay.
I was curious, why do some TED Talks go viral and some don't? So in our lab, we analyzed thousands of hours counting cues, coding. We literally coded TED Talks and looked at the view count. We found that the most viral TED Talks use an average of 465 gestures in 18 minutes, whereas the least popular TED Talks use an average of 272 gestures, so almost half. What happens here is the best TED Talkers, they get on stage and they typically go, good morning. So they have a visible hand out of their pockets right in front. And then what they do, I'm going to demo this for you. And by the way, if you're just listening, I'm going to show some hand gestures along with my words. Mel, see if this looks familiar to you. This is every popular TED Talk. Today, I want to talk to you about a big idea. It's going to change your life in 3 different ways. That is cueing the brain to say, wow, this person knows their content so well, they can speak to me on 2 tracks. They can speak to me with their verbal, but they can also demo their concepts along with their words. So if I were to say, today I have a really big idea and hold up my hands like I'm holding a penny, you're like, Vanessa, it looks so small. Your brain is more likely to believe my gesture than my word.
Wow. Oh boy, are you and I in for a treat today? We are going to talk about the hacks and tips and tricks and research that you can put to use in your own life so that you appear more confident to other people.